This is Future Talk.
Future Talk.
Future Talk with Omnia Al Saleh and Hani Balkis.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Pulse 95. It is me, Hani Balkis, with Omnia Saleh, bringing you everything you need to know about what's happening in the tech world because, ladies and gentlemen, this is Future Talk, where we give you everything that's happening right here, right now, whether it's tech, gadgets, AI, space, whatever you need to know, we got it. And we're talking about 20 Emirati women in the running to become UAE's next astronaut.
This news has definitely made my day because it's one thing to find Emirati youth become more involved in the space sector, but another to find Emirati women become more involved and hopefully becoming the next astronaut. But coming up on Future Talk as well, big accomplishment happening right here in the UAE as the Mohammed bin Rashid satellite boosts the UAE's knowledge-based economy. How is it going to do that? We're going to be giving you all those details in just a few moments.
And for our Tech This Out segment, we're talking about Zoom video, how it's triggering plastic surgery demand to look good. And that happens with Zoom video meets.
Yes, indeed. Now, we've seen snap dysmorphia before. We've seen people actually struggle with accepting themselves due to the filters. But is Zoom creating a similar movement? This is definitely something we're going to be tackling. But if you're a parent or even a sibling with younger siblings, we're going to be telling you about an application that will make sure that the content your children are consuming is a lot safer. YouTube Kids is an application that many don't know about, and we're going to be sharing all its details in just a few moments.
And if you're an iPhone user and suffering from call drops, well, we're going to tell you how to fix that by updating your iPhone iOS. Here's how and why it's happening. We're going to talk about all of that in a bit, ladies and gentlemen. So keep Pulse 95 locked because we're going to be right back.
Daily digital news. Bits and bytes connect our world.
Your quick roundup of everything that is happening in the tech world in the UAE and around the world. The UAE is a step closer to selecting its next two astronauts. But this time, it's not going to just be two men going to space, but rather women are actually making up a third of the remaining 61 applicants that actually applied to become the UAE's next astronaut. The names of the country's next space travelers will actually be revealed in January, so very, very soon, at the end of a very extensive search that on completion would have taken more than a year.
Yes, now the chosen two will aim to follow in the footsteps of the Emirates' first trailblazing astronauts, Major General Hazza Al Mansouri, the first Emirati in space, and Dr. Sultan Al Niyadi. Now, Major Al Mansouri did make history when he did spend 8 days on board the International Space Station around September of last year, with Dr. Al Niyadi part of the reserve crew for the landmark mission. Now, an initial 4,305 applicants have been whittled down to 41 men, and 20 women. So out of 4,305 people, we're seeing 20 women and 41 men. Now that is a big cut down.
Yes, indeed. And we're definitely very excited to see who gets chosen. But compared with the first astronaut hunt that took place back in 2018, there has been a slight increase in the number of women who applied to the astronaut program. And that definitely marks a great accomplishment. But more importantly, it marks a great accomplishment that about 20 women were actually made it this far in the selection process. Now, we're definitely seeing a very big range in the age of the applicants. So the average age of the candidates was about 28, but the youngest applicant was actually 23 years old and the oldest was 39. They come from all sorts of educational backgrounds. 3 of them have a PhD and about 12 of the applicants hold a master's degree. But more than half, about 54% of them, actually work in the engineering sector. But no worries, because other sectors were involved as well. 18% are from the military, another 18% are in aviation, and about 5% are in healthcare.
Now, the list was first narrowed down to about 2,099 people, which was based on age, educational background, and even scientific research experience. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, these candidates had to take an online test, and the number was then brought down to around 1,000, which was then followed by an IQ, personality, and even technical knowledge assessment. And only 122 of them were chosen to be part of an online interview, of whom 61 are still running. So out of 100, 61 passed that online interview. Now, once these people are selected, the two new astronauts will head to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, as part of an intensive training program.
Yes, indeed. Major Al-Mansouri and Dr. Al-Niyadi are already there. They're all learning the International Space Station system and how to spacewalk once again. While the first two astronauts have already been trained by Russia's space agency Roscosmos, it will be an entirely new experience for the new astronauts that will be selected. And we all know that, going to space is not as glamorous as a lot of people tend to think it is, because the beginning of the training is actually pretty tough. They actually have to head to Houston. Over there, they tend to go ahead and learn the Russian language so that they can interact with their instructors. And they also learn how to manage, how to maintain payloads. They learn a little bit about robotics, the various systems that are actually used on the space stations, different aspects of scientific research, as well as getting their body more familiarized with microgravity, because it's definitely a whole new experience for our bodies.
Yes, indeed. It is a whole new experience, and you have to be very physically fit and mentally fit as well. There's a lot of assessments and training that is done for the mind and body. Now, let's move on to our another story that is still talking about space, because we're talking about the MBZ-SAT, which is a new satellite that will boost UAE's knowledge-based economy. The satellite will launch in 2023 and will offer commercial and civilian services.
Yes, indeed. Space officials in the UAE are very hopeful that the MBZ-SAT, which is the Earth observation satellite that the UAE is currently working on, will contribute to the country's knowledge-based economy. Most of the satellite's parts will be acquired through UAE-based companies. It's going to be fully manufactured right here in the UAE instead of depending on international companies. And the satellite will actually be about 3 meters tall by 5 meters. It will weigh about 700 kilograms. And the main aim behind it is to basically be able to provide a lot of knowledge for researchers that are based over here for them to be able to conduct all of their work.
Now, MBZ-SAT is named after Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, and will actually be 3 times more efficient than Khalifa-SAT, which was the first UAE-built satellite, which was launched in 2018. So obviously bigger and better. Now, previous Emirati satellites were built with components procured internationally, which did include Khalifa-SAT solar panels, which are made by an Italian company. Dubai Sat 1 and Dubai Sat 2 were also built in South Korea by Emiratis and South Koreans. But this time, everything is being in-housed. Everything is being from the UAE, and Emiratis will be working on this satellite.
I love that, and especially because it's all being worked on by Emirati youth. Now, this satellite is definitely going to be very exciting for us living on Earth, because it's going to be bringing back much clearer images. So it's going to be improving the image quality and also the download speed so that it can actually supply more content for all those researchers. And many companies right here in the UAE have actually partnered with ground networks for them to be able to offer a 24-hour coverage. That means images can be downloaded at any time and at any place, even if the satellite is not in the coverage area.
Now, UAE's space investments have now exceeded around $22 billion, which is a big reflection on how the country is preparing for a post-oil era. And there has been a greater focus on the knowledge-based economy and sectors such as space, tech, science, and even food security. Now, it is very obvious how we are focusing on a lot of things, and technology, and space has been the main scope so far, which is amazing. I mean, we have to get with technology, and we're doing great and exceeding and excelling in this sector so far.
Absolutely. Let us know, are you excited for the next Emirati astronaut, and do you hope that both of them are women? Our text lines are open for 215 do Ittisalat, or slide into our DMs at Pulse 95 Radio on Instagram. Coming up on Future Talk, we're talking all about Zoom body dysmorphia. Do Zoom calls make you feel a little bit more self-conscious about how you look like? Keep Pulse 95 locked. We'll be right back.
Check this out. Check this out. Pulse 95.
Now, with the coronavirus pandemic, we've seen a surge in using Zoom and Zoom video. Now, there has been a trigger of plastic surgery demand to look good because of Zoom. Now, we are seeing patients are seeking plastic surgery in record numbers. citing their appearance on Zoom as a cause. Could you believe it or not?
I do believe it, to be honest, because we've seen a lot of people who, when Snapchat first came out with its filters, a lot of people were actually suffering from snap dysmorphia, which is basically a disorder where you're obsessively focusing on every flaw in your body appearance. And this is definitely the same situation now happening with Zoom. A lot of people, because they're constantly on video meetings, working from home, they've had more time to overthink every flaw. And this has caused a lot of people to go ahead and seek plastic surgery in record numbers.
Now, I can see where this is a problem because obviously when you're going to a meeting, a general meeting, now right now, I'm talking to you, I don't see myself.
True.
But when I'm talking to you through Zoom video call, I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at the way my face reacts, my facial reactions, my wrinkles, maybe some blemishes on my face. I can see that. And to some people, I'm comparing myself to whoever else is in that meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't see that same thing. So again, you could have that type of feeling where you feel less of a person, a less attractive per se, because you don't look attractive enough. And this is where we talk about, like you were talking about Snapchat and the filters, and Instagram as well. Now, Instagram and Snapchat are very well known for their filters and how they beautify one another.
They will literally blur any blemish.
They will blur any blemish and even go to the extent of giving you a nice eyeshadow, some makeup, removing your dark circles. So when you're used to looking perfect all the time, when reality does set in, and reality is no one looks perfect.
Yes.
No one on planet Earth is perfect. So when reality does settle in and you see that you're not perfect, it's kind of like a slap in the face.
Exactly. I definitely agree with you on that one. And especially, it's interesting that you mentioned the filters on Instagram and Snapchat, because a lot of them even give you virtual plastic surgeries.
Yes.
You'll find, your eyes looking a little wider, your lips looking plumper, and it's definitely setting the bar too high and for people to start really criticizing every little flaw in their bodies.
Yes, and it also goes to show, for example, let's say I'm very white colored. I don't like being white colored, so I'll put on a filter that makes me more tan.
Yeah.
And I'm used to being, every time I take a picture, I'm more tanned. And I jump on a Zoom video call and I'm pale as white. I'm white. So it does kind of show. Now, we've seen a couple of platforms combat this. In what way? Now, we do know, I believe it was TikTok does have a beautify filter.
Yes.
It will remove your blemishes and will smoothen your skin.
Even Zoom, I think, offered that for some time, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't use Zoom, so I don't know how it works. But WhatsApp does have that same thing. Snapchat, you can do a whole video call, Omnia, with a filter on. On Snapchat, you
even
can do
Facebook Messenger, too.
A whole video, Omnia, for, let's say, your favorite filter. Your favorite filter that you use. You can have a whole video call on Snapchat using that filter, and Instagram as well. So I think that a lot of people are just not used to seeing themselves without a filter.
I agree with you on that one. And even though Zoom has definitely been a lifeline during lockdown, it's become the only way for us to communicate while also ensuring that we're being safe and socially distanced. It is affecting the way we see ourselves and how the way a lot of people have been viewing their own issues and their own imperfections. Now, a lot of authors that have been carrying out this research have said that the surge in patients have definitely been a very important situation to dive deeper into, but the cause has been even more interesting. People have literally been citing that Zoom has been the reason why a lot of them have went to seek consultation with plastic surgeons.
Yes.
And the main issues that people have been complaining from are wrinkles and acne.
Yes, wrinkles, acne, and even hair loss. To that fact, they've been seeing that maybe in pictures or video, their hair is a little bit light, which
thinner,
thinner hair, which can show that you are prone to hair loss. So it's a big deal. It's a very big deal. Especially, we do know a lot of people had mental issues during the pandemic because of lockdown, because of staying home, because of not seeing one another. And we should know that having sunlight is very important.
Yes.
And it is a mood booster. Vitamin D is a mood booster. So when you're not getting any sunlight, you're staying home and you're in darkness all the time, and then you open up Zoom and you look at yourself and you're already battling a mental battle with yourself. It does have factors on top of each other. It's kind of like a domino effect.
100%.
Stacking one on top of another, and then all of a sudden falling down. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Absolutely.
Now, it's a shame that we kind of have to resort to plastic surgery and this and that, but I'm not the one to judge. Everyone can do what they want to do to feel better about themselves, and I support it fully.
100%. And apart from just, Zoom being an issue, a lot of researchers have actually even realized that Google searches have been increasing in terms of people looking for solutions to some of their facial issues. So people were Googling more on how to get rid of wrinkles, how to get rid of acne, and the trend is definitely increasing more often because of Zoom and because of social media platforms that are asking us to put on filters, and filters are becoming the new norm. But even though we all want to showcase the best parts of ourselves on social media or even on Zoom, let's not take it too far and start to realize that every single person has flaws, and if we can accept other people's flaws, then we should accept ourselves as well.
Now, I feel like one way Zoom can combat that is kind of implement a beautify filter, just like most VoIP apps do. They do have a beauty filter, kind of beautify, smooth it out the edges a little bit, and you should be good to go.
Or people could actually start challenging each other to not use filters or to use filters less, because that's definitely one movement that we've seen amongst influencers. They are starting to post more raw photos of themselves, and if you the role models that you look up to, you find them happily viewing themselves without any filter, then you may be more inclined to do so.
Let us know your guys' thoughts. 4215 or on Instagram at Pulse95 Radio. Do you use filters? And do you think that when you go onto a Zoom video call, you see your flaws and you kind of get a little bit insecure? 4215 We're taking a short break, but when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about what YouTube Kids.
How do you tech? How do you tech?
Do you have an iPhone and are you suffering from sudden and random call drops? Well, we're going to tell you how and why that's happening and how to update your phone to the latest iOS to solve that issue. Now, if you use an iPhone, you better check this to avoid the so-called zero-day flaws, which can be solved with a simple update with the latest iOS version 14.2. Could perhaps help do the trick, and it does only take some simple steps.
Yes, indeed. Now, the first tip before we start with how you can go ahead and avoid all those call drops that have been happening, make sure that your battery charge is at least 50% for the iOS update to be able to actually download. Now, despite being up to date with the iOS 14.2, a lot of iPhone users have actually been reporting some major irritations to their calls, and this is what we would typically refer to as call drops. So your calls are being automatically cut off in the middle of a conversation, even if your phone battery is completely fine and you have actually updated to the 14.2 iOS. But this is exactly why 14.3 is coming to town, and we're going to be telling you exactly what you need to do.
Yes, indeed. So sometimes some people even would face call rejections. You would call someone and it would be rejected, and that person wouldn't even reject it. It would just be an automatic busy or whatever that would happen. So what you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go to General and go to, I think it's a software update.
Yes, indeed. So if you're going to go to General, you'll find software update over there, where you will find the iOS 14.3 available over there. Now, we definitely do encourage everyone to go ahead and download it, because a lot of tweeps, regular Twitter users, have actually taken it to Twitter to report about this annoying bug that has been impacting a lot of phones with the iOS 14.2, but also those who are using the newest AirPods Pro. A lot of them have been struggling with their AirPods, giving them the same type of issue. Every time they try and reboot them, they're still getting disabled in the settings, and the audio is actually sounding really, really bad.
Now, there has been a lot of bugs with the iOS 14.2, and even me as a beta tester, I have been given the option to even update to 14.3 because obviously a lot of people have been complaining, and when people do complain, Apple will kind of send out a new type of update to beta testers, which is me. And they'll test out the new features, and hopefully it will be fixed. Now, so far I haven't updated yet because my phone hasn't been 50% charged. But as soon as it will be 50% charged, I will update and give a review on that. Now, a lot of people have been complaining about the battery and how After the update, their battery was draining significantly quicker than before. And I believe that just happens every time a new iOS update comes out. Until it tweaks with the older versions, it does take a couple of tries till they get it right.
100%. And even more than the battery, what's been impacted is the memory. So before you go ahead and download the iOS 14.3, make sure that you have at least 930 megabytes of free space on your iPhone. If you tend to sync all of your memory and all of your media to your phone from WhatsApp, Facebook, and all these different social media platforms, you may want to turn that off so that you can have a little bit more storage available for the iOS update to go through. If you're still facing some bugs, no worries, because as you've mentioned, Hani, the beta version of 14.3 is currently being tested out. You can sign up to be a beta user and just download it straight to your phone to avoid all those issues. But we've also been hearing a lot of warnings from UAE authorities, the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority, that has been identifying this system vulnerability and urging everyone to go ahead and download the update as well.
Now, a lot of people have been kind of getting messages and notifications from Apple to update and change the password, because I do suspect, Omnia, that there has been a couple of hacking attempts with the new iOS because they have been seeing a little bit of flaws. My dad has got an update, a notification to change his password because apparently there has been a little bit of leaks when it does come to the new iOS 14.2. Unfortunately, let's hope Apple gets that under control, because we do know a lot of personal information is on our phones. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Future Talk to jump in that spaceship and go back to space, but leave the airways open for the halftime show, the only place to be at 3 with Omar Douri.
Yes, indeed. He has a very exciting show in store for you all. Everything from mental health to physical fitness and sports stories right from the heart of Sharjah. Keep Pulse 95 locked, because it's going to be kicking off in just a few moments.
T-minus 5 minutes.
Yes, but you can catch us once again. Future Talk will be returning from 2 to 3 p.m. Same time, same place. Only here on Pulse
95.
If you liked this episode of Future Talk, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.